Hi.
Hi.
Why don't you tell me what pride means to you?
Oh, well, pride means everything to me. Fundamentally, it's when I do most of my work, so very important. But actually, most importantly, is that pride is about being who you want and loving who you are. And I think that is a right that everybody in the world should have, regardless of whether they're LGBTQIA+, or regardless of where they're from or how they identify. And I think as soon as somebody takes pride in themselves, then they will learn to take pride in other people. And so pride as an event is basically us shouting, look how proud I am of me and look how proud I am of you. And I'm proud of everyone because we're all fantastic. We're all standing up, which I think is a miracle. I don't know how we do that, really.
And why do you think it's important to discuss it? You know, people might say, hey, we're at a certain point in society. Why do you think it's still important for it to always be on the agenda?
I think it's really important for it to still be discussed because people always need to be reminded, A, that they are valid and wonderful and fantastic human beings, but also that people don't have the same rights as everybody else. And there is a huge inequity in the way people are asked to live their lives and what's expected of them. You know, just in like LGBT life, there's so many countries still where, hey, it's illegal. You know, some countries have just announced like quite morbid penalties for being LGBT. Even more basic things, you know, in some countries it's illegal for LGBT people to get married.
Yeah.
And really, I don't see how we can have rights, we can consider having rights for everyone until that literally means everyone. So until, you know, we're quite lucky here in the UK, although, you know, where there are certain things being backtracked on, but we're much luckier here than we are in, say, some Eastern European countries where LGBT lives are being ruined. And until those people in those countries can be proud of who they are, we can't stop shouting about it.
I would say even it's important in the UK as well, because you'll have the perception of prime ministers that will use terms towards transgenders, and it's like it still needs to be discussed.
Absolutely. As well as long as people are being used as political pawns, then you have to talk about why it's important that they're just allowed to be who they want to be and just live their lives. Because the fundamental thing is that no one should be stopped from being who they are, whether that's a cisgender straight person or a transgender lesbian. Like, both those people are perfectly valid.
If you identify as part of the community or know someone who does, do you think it's been a smooth journey to finding support and acceptance?
Oh, you're asking all the deep questions today. I've been very lucky. I do identify as part of the LGBT community, and I grew up during Section 28, which was a time when teachers and local authorities weren't allowed to discuss or educate on LGBT issues. So I grew up with no like governmental support, but I grew up in a very loving family and with very loving friends and with very loving teachers that supported me in ways that, you know, the best way they could. And I think I do consider myself lucky because I know it's not easy for everyone, which is why I now try and be that support and that guidance for other people who may struggle. There are probably people who don't feel that support from their family, don't feel that support from their workplace, but I think it's important that everyone understands that there is somebody, a group of people out there who are going to support you and are going to help you become the amazing person that you're supposed to be.
And I think it can sometimes feel a bit strange. You know, why would you talk about it at work? But we spend so much time of ourselves here. It's good to know that there's someone that's willing to listen without any judgment and be that person.
Absolutely.
Because some people don't have that at home.
Absolutely. And I think it's a really important thing to be able to walk into your workplace and not change who you are.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, I've been in some environments as an employee where I've walked in and gone, this is my shield.
Yeah.
This is my mask. This is me being what they need me to be. But I've never enjoyed that experience. So if you're in a workplace where you can just be you, everyone, it's going to improve everything. You're going to perform better. You're going to have better engagement with your colleagues. And, you know, fundamentally, you're going to have better engagement with your customers.
Yeah.
And your customers who may be a part of an LGBT community, they're going to feel like that's a company
You're
that wants them to be welcomed as well.
And have you ever had an experience where you maybe received some prejudice, or on the other hand, amazing acceptance?
Oh, I mean, yes, I've had both. I've experienced both. And they often come in the most surprising ways. Sometimes you're in environments that you think, oh, this is going to be a breeze.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a great time. And you just feel a lot of like resistance. I've been protested a few times with my work at a library. And that's the last place you expect people to have an issue with this sort of story.
Well, everyone's quiet there.
Exactly. And that was the most intense thing about this protest, is they sat in the library really seriously.
Oh God.
Like staring. And it was all a bit weird. But my favourite story is a few years ago, I was doing a show in Lancashire, like deep dark Lancashire, like proper last summer wine country. And I was at a library, and this old couple were there. Could not have been more stereotypical, like flat caps with their grandchildren. And they were sat at the side, like all hunched over. And I was like, oh, they're not digging this. They're not buying this at all. And then after the show, I went to the co-op, and I saw the man in there, the granddad, and he came over to me and he went, hey up, were you that lad who were a lass? And I was like, yes, that was me. And he went, oh, you've got lovely legs. And I was like, that's acceptance in the, like, I think until something's politicized, until people are told not to like something, they've got no reason not to like something. This guy, he just saw another human being doing panto and was like, great legs.
Yeah.
That's
and it's exposure and communication, isn't it? Which really hinges around what Pride is about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not to be quiet with it, and to hear from lots of different voices. So that's kind of why I wanted to pass the mic over to you. Because you can ask, you can say to me, okay, what do you think about it? But if someone lives and breathes it every day, I think it's different. What would your one piece of advice be for someone who's just starting out, either on their gender or sexuality journey, and perhaps, might need a bit of support or advice on how to navigate the path?
I think that's a really important question, and I've probably got several points, so bear with me.
Go for it.
I think the key thing is to remember that your gender and your identity journey is different to everybody else. So there's no one way of experiencing it. However you're feeling, whatever you're experiencing isn't wrong, and it isn't, well, it is right. Do that again. Whatever you're experiencing, whatever you're feeling is right to you. So no one can tell you you're experiencing it the wrong way. Secondly, there's lots and lots and lots of people there who are going to support you and are going to help you. Don't be afraid to talk to people, even if that means, phoning a charity because you can't talk to your family, or seeking support from an adult at school who you trust, or a friend that you particularly trust. And the third thing, and this really goes for everyone, is you are the best version of you. Like, no one can tell you who to be. No one can tell you what to be. So long as you're being yourself, you're going to flourish. And right now, we're the best versions of ourselves we're going to be today. We're as much Jazz and Mama G as we can be today. But tomorrow we can be better. We can be better the next day. So actually, the journey never stops for anybody. And don't try and reach a definite goal. Just try and reach being you today. Because that's who you can be. And who you are today is wonderful.
It never stops, does it? Everyone can go ebbs and flows. That
Absolutely.
You can't. Some days you might not feel proud, and it's not because, you did anything to change that. It's just, it's so closely linked to your emotional self and your identity that it does change.
Yes, and who you want to be can change daily as well. Like, sometimes I wake up and I want to put on spectacular dresses and wonderful hair. And sometimes I wake up and I want to stay in bed and wear my pajamas.
Yeah.
And there's no harm in doing either of those, because whoever you've decided to be today is fantastic.
Lovely. Thank you.
My pleasure.
That is all.